The security camera caught it all, every frame, every angry twist of Karen's face as she hauled herself over my backyard fence for the third time this month. Designer swimsuit practically glowing in the sun, like she just assumed she owned the whole block. Let me tell you, that morning, I already had coffee splattered down my shirt because my hand was shaking so bad just watching her, and I thought, here we go again, third time in 2 weeks. And each time she got a little bolder, a little more entitled. What she didn't know was I'd spent weeks planning a trap, something so simple and poetic it'd use her own arrogance against her. And on that scorcher of a July day, the water looked like paradise. But it was a mirage, because as soon as Karen dove in expecting a free luxury swim, the scalding water hit her like liquid fire, and her screams split the whole neighborhood. The trap worked, but that was just the spark for a chain of chaos that nobody could put back in the box. So, yeah, I'm David Martinez, the guy with the backyard everyone in the neighborhood pretends not to talk about, and I guess you could say I'd finally had it. There I was, standing at my kitchen window, watching Karen Whitmore march across my freshly mowed lawn, coffee mug clattering against the granite. This woman, 40-something, recently divorced, strutting around like she's still queen of her own prom, has made it her mission to treat my backyard like a public park. First time I froze, too shocked to do anything. Second time I told her off and she just laughed. "It's just water, David, don't be so uptight, we're neighbors." That's how she said it, drawing out my name like it tasted sour. Neighbors. As if that gave her some magical right to barge in whenever she felt like it. And I'd tried calling the cops. Last time Officer Martinez, no relation I promise, showed up and just shook his head. Civil matter. At best, she'd get a warning, maybe a citation, but she'd be back in a week, a fresh excuse and a smug smile in tow. The law failed me, the system failed me, and honestly, my neighbors, the ones watching this whole mess, like it's a soap opera, they just shrugged and said, good luck with that. So I figured if the system's not going to protect my home, I'd have to handle it myself. 15 years in software engineering teaches you that every problem has a solution if you're methodical enough. And Karen was nothing if not predictable. Every Tuesday and Friday at 8:30 sharp, she'd slide through that broken fence, always thinking I was gone for work, and set up her little pool party. That's how entitled she was. She started leaving her stuff in my shed: sunscreen, fancy towels, Bluetooth speaker blasting club music at 9 a.m. I returned her junk to her yard and got a doorbell rant, "Where are my things?" like I was her pool boy. So I did what any frustrated nerd would do. I researched. Spent nights on pool heater forums called contractors. Watched videos on thermal shock and water temperatures. I learned 104 degrees Fahrenheit was the magic number. Uncomfortable, even dangerous if you lingered, but not quite criminal if you bailed fast enough. I invested in a high-capacity pool heater, programmable controller, even a remote monitoring system. Told my wife Sarah it was to extend our swim season. She bought it. She'd been wanting a warmer pool anyway. Install took 2 days. Ran the wires myself. Set the heater behind a screen so Karen wouldn't notice. Tested it when she wasn't around. The water looked normal, clear, cool, inviting, but touch it, and you'd think you'd stumbled into a hot tub from hell. The setup was perfect. Then came the Friday that changed everything. July 15th. I was working from home, really just glued to my security feeds. At 8:28 a.m., right on schedule, Karen shimmied through the fence in that neon pink bikini, dragging an inflatable swan big enough to seat 3 people. She strutted across the patio, heels clicking like some conquering queen, set up her little Instagram shoot, and did her whole sunscreen ritual. It was almost funny the way she treated my yard like her personal resort. At 8:40, I cranked the heat from my phone. By 8:42, the water was at 104 degrees. Karen finally noticed, dipped a toe and frowned, put her hand in, then yelped. Most folks would leave, but not Karen. "Probably just the shallow end," she muttered. "The deep end will be cooler." Next thing I know, she's on my diving board posing for an imaginary camera, and she dives in head first. The scream that ripped out of that pool, I swear it sounded like an animal caught in a trap. She shot out of the water, gasping and cursing, wrapped herself in a towel, and stormed back to her mansion, dripping and humiliated. I figured she'd finally get the message. I figured wrong. At 3:17 a.m., the real payback began. Sirens, red lights, the whole 9 yards. My security system blared. I jerked awake to see Karen, dressed head to toe in black spray, painting my pool deck in giant red letters, Psycho lives here. That's when I realized this wasn't just about a pool, this was war. I called 911, showed Officer Martinez the camera footage, and the text Karen sent right after, "How do you like my artwork? This is just the beginning." Officer Martinez looked tired, told me I might want to dial back the home defense systems because what I did looked a whole lot like setting a trap even on my own property. "Not today, but," he said, making it clear that any more escalation might land me in real trouble. That didn't stop Karen. 2 days later, the city rolled up code enforcement, environmental services, health inspector, the works. Anonymous complaints, they said. I watched from the window as Karen stood on her porch, arms folded, white sundress glowing in the morning sun, just beaming while they picked my property apart. 4 hours later, they found nothing, but the humiliation was public and total. Karen was playing chess while I was still angry over a game of checkers. My lawyer, Jerry, came by, took one look at the mess and said, "You need to decide how far you want to take this. She's not going to stop." That night, Sarah broke. She slammed her fork on the table, her calm gone. "You could have just fixed the fence," she said, her voice shaking. "Instead, you set a trap. You planned to hurt her, even if just a little. That's not the man I married." I wanted to argue, but I couldn't. She was right. 6 months ago, I'd have fixed the fence and moved on. But Karen pushed me until I became someone I didn't recognize, someone who wanted to win at any cost. The next morning, I started fighting dirty. Called my college buddy Marcus, now a PI, asked him to dig up anything he could on Karen. Financials, legal history, whatever. Hired a contractor to install the most expensive security system money could buy, cameras, mics, motion sensors, the whole package. Filed a harassment claim and restraining order. I wanted to win no matter how ugly it got. Marcus came through in a big way. Karen's life was a mess. Nasty divorce, restraining orders, bounced checks, a history of harassing neighbors, desperate and drowning in debt. Karen wasn't just entitled, she was dangerous. I sent my findings to the lawyer, and then just to turn the screws, I emailed the entire neighborhood. Due to ongoing security concerns, I've installed 24/7 surveillance. All activity will be reported to police. Suddenly, neighbors who'd ignored me started calling. Turns out Karen had been whispering about me, trying to turn folks against me, drumming up fake petitions. She'd declared social war, too. That night, motion sensors lit up. Cameras caught Karen ripping up my tomato plants, smashing Sarah's flowers, destroying my irrigation system. She stared right into the camera, smiled, flipped me off, and left. This time, Officer Martinez arrested her for felony vandalism, trespass, and maybe stalking the works. Karen went away in cuffs, bathrobe and slippers, hair, wild eyes burning with hate. But here's the catch. "This isn't justice, David," Sarah said, turning away. "This is two people destroying each other." And she was right. My garden was ruined. My wife was packing a bag upstairs, and all I had was a hollow victory. Karen made bail the next morning. My phone buzzed, victim notification system. By 8 a.m., my boss called. "We need you in now." Karen had reported me to my company, said I was stalking, harassing, using company resources for personal vendettas. HR, legal, the whole circus. I told the truth, showed every police report, every camera angle, but in their eyes, I was toxic. Administrative leave pending resolution. I knew what that meant. Then Jerry called Karen's lawyer, had filed a counter-restraining order, accused me of assault, stalking, harassment. The pool heater incident twisted into premeditated attack with a dangerous weapon. She had neighbors ready to testify, photos of my cameras, claims of PTSD, medical damages, the whole 9 yards. Suddenly, everything I'd done to defend myself looked like a criminal campaign to destroy a vulnerable woman. That evening, alone in my house with every light and camera on, Karen rang my bell. Just her. No cops, no lawyers, holding a folder. "Settlement offer," she said. She'd drop everything for $250,000 and my silence. "It's not about winning, David. It's about surviving," she admitted, mask slipping for a second. Underneath all that malice was just a desperate person hanging by a thread. For the first time, I saw her clearly, not as a monster, but a person so scared of losing face that she'd drag 2 lives down just to save a scrap of dignity. I never meant for it to go this far, but now we were both too deep to climb out. So here's the question. When you stand your ground and the other person just digs in deeper, at what point does the fight itself become the real problem? Who's right, who's wrong, or does it even matter when the system is this broken? Let me know what you think. Down below, does justice mean winning or just surviving? Whose side would you take when neighbors become enemies and the war leaves nobody standing? Sound off in the comments. I'm ready to hear it.